Okay, welcome back to a model a day, and today we're just continuing on with this scene. There's a few more things I want to model for it. I'm just going to hide some of the stuff in it just now and bring up the reference that I'm working from at the moment. So let's see, we'll find that image again. And we have these little Japanese chairs. Now this isn't a great reference for them, unfortunately, so I'm just going to do a quick search for Japanese chairs. Now, I don't know whether to call them Japanese floor chairs or what, but you can see that there's actually quite a lot of them. So we should be able to find something pretty suitable. Now, in looking at this, we do have a lot of different examples. There's one even with an armrest. There's another one with the armrest that we've already created. And here's one that's actually pretty similar to what we're actually going to create. So we have this bottom part here, then we have a seam and a top part. So we're essentially just going to build something similar to this. We're not going to spend a massive amount of time on it. We're not going to worry that we're not exactly recreating our reference material exactly. So let's just quickly jump in and just basically start building this. So I'm just going to go in as usual with a cube. So we'll go to edit mode and scale this in, back to object mode and move it into place. So I'm just going to go to edit mode again and we'll just scale this down. So I'm going to create the bottom kind of rail on it first of all. I'll get this right on the surface and we'll move this out to the end. So I'm going to start it about there and end it about here. Go to this top view and scale it in a little bit to move this in Y. So I'm just going to get this first piece done. So yeah, these chairs, very interesting. So again, we saw in that reference image there is a seam there, so this is going to be two parts. But I'm going to create it as one part and then separate it off just because that's a lot easier to match sizes and match the way the curves and things like that go. The back part seems to be a curved wooden panel and then a cushion on top of it, and the bottom part's a flat wooden panel with a cushion on top of it. So it shouldn't really be very complex. We should be able to model that pretty simply. So I'm just going to jump into edit mode, add an edge loop in. This is where we're going to have the next part go up. I'm just going to very simply block in the shapes. I'm just going to extrude this up, take it to about there, maybe a little bit higher. I'm going to move it back in X and I'm going to scale it down a little bit in X as well because it does get a lot thinner towards the top. And that's pretty much that. Now I'm going to smooth off these areas here. I'm going to do that in two ways. First way I'm going to do is with an edge loop here and scale this down in X. Next way I'm going to do it is with an edge loop here and an edge loop here. And then I'm going to grab some of these edges. So just grab those four edges and I'm just going to move those up a little bit. Let's go back to that view again. And we're starting to create that nice smooth surface. Now at this side here, I think I want an edge loop in just about here to keep that smoothness going, and an edge loop here. This part here we're going to probably, well, we might bevel that, we might use subdivision surfaces. Let's see, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do. Let's look in this side view. What I do need to do is add a bunch of edge loops in here, and I'll grab maybe the center one. We'll go to proportional editing and we'll just give this a curve. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for. Let's maybe go with something like that. Again, I'm not being a slave to the reference here. I'm kind of doing my own thing. So pretty happy with that. Okay, now is the moment of truth. We have to decide, are we going to use bevels and high poly, or are we going to use low poly and subdivision surfaces? What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this off. Just going to use Shift D and move this the y-axis. And on this one, I'm going to attempt subdivision surfaces and see how far we can get with that. So let's go to edit mode. Let's first of all get the sides correct. I'm going to add a loop in the middle and then I'm going to bevel that out almost right to the edges so we get that pretty sharp. I'll actually add in an additional one in the middle so it's just really super sharp. The bottom bit is very, very flat, so we can add an edge in there. Now, I want this edge to be totally straight, so if I hit E, that actually gives us an even edge. And I can just fit that in, and then we get a nice one. I'll do the same here. I'll move one close to the end. You can see that we have a kind of curve there. Now, the issue with this is, and this is the issue why I'm not sure if subdivision surfaces is going to be that good on this, is we want this to be sharp on the end, same as the bottom, and we want it to be sharp on the top. But now we don't get that curve, we don't get that rounded part that we have on the reference, which is one argument possibly for using bevels instead. I'm going to add some edge loops in there just so we have slightly smoother geometry. Again, we have the same issue on this end here. If I grab this edge here and move it to the end to get the tightness that we actually want. And I think this will actually be a little bit easier if we go to shade smooth, maybe add one more subdivision in our viewport and just make sure all smooth is turned on. Get this setting up a little bit higher. We can start to see some certain issues coming in. Now at the top we do have this nice smooth top, so that might be one thing we could possibly keep. However, when we add in an edge loop around here, which we want to, because we kind of really do want to get some smooth surfaces and some tight corners, now we're actually losing. We're losing that at the top, we're losing that roundness that we had. Let's move this up into place. I want to get this to be kind of a square. Okay, and if we look at this other part here, this is the part that we want to actually break off. So if I select that whole thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel this with 3 segments. The middle segment is the one that I'm actually going to split. So if we actually select the top half now and hit H to hide that, we can actually see we have this bottom edge. I can grab this whole area, hit F, fill in a face, and then it's just a case of going in and joining up these edges. There we go, and Alt H to unhide. We're going to invert that selection and hit H to hide that. And we'll do the same on the bottom part. F to fill in that face, and then we're just grabbing the verts and we are joining these. Got a funny feeling I actually joined the wrong ones together there, but it seems to have worked regardless. Yeah, we did. We joined the wrong ones somehow there. Let's just undo all that. Get a slightly better view here. Okay, so we'll join this up again. Just attempt this one more time. So we want to go from here to here. Join, here to here, join. So we are getting some kind of strange issue. That's okay, it doesn't matter. I don't think I'm actually going to go with the subdivision method. I don't like the way we get these smooth corners here. And there's just some issues with it I'm not super happy about. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to delete this model off. Oh, we don't want to delete that other model. Let us undo that. Our undos are going a little bit slow there. I'm going to isolate this so we can work on this on our own. I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to do things a little bit different. I'm going to get the curved areas that I actually really want first. So let's add in that curve there. And then we want to add in this curve. I think we should maybe move this back a bit. So I'm just hitting GG to slide an edge. Screencast keys again, not on. So we've got that nice smooth edge there. Let's get these ones as well. So we want these two selected. Control B and bevel those. Get a nice smooth top on that. There we go. That's basically what we want. Now obviously we have some really low poly geometry happening now. So now we want to go in and we want to attempt to put in these edge loops. Let me just line this up again actually and just move this. Okay. So now we want to go in and we want to do those edge loops and make this subdivision. So what happens is we add our subdivision surface modifier. And we go in and we try to add in our edge loops and they stop at certain places. We can't add in our edge loops the way we would normally want to. And this is the main issue with using bevels before we start to add in our edge loops. To be honest, whether we beveled before or after, we're still going to get the same issues. So it's just up to you whether you want to do it before or after. In this case, I decided to do it after. So the way I'm going to start trying to achieve the same effect as edge loops is by adding a bunch of manual loops in. We'll have to do some cutting and things like that, but we should be able to manage it. So I'm going to select this bottom face just by using select similar and coplanar, and that gives me the whole bottom part. And now instead of adding an edge loop or anything like that, I'm just going to extrude this a little bit. And that basically has the same effect as adding an edge loop all around. So that's one quick way of doing that. We have our loops on the sides. The only other ones we want to do is essentially around these end parts. So I'm going to attempt this effect. I'm going to select this whole end part and I'm going to inset it in a little bit. And again, similar to what we just did with the extrude, this inset also kind of has the same effect as creating an edge loop. So let's deselect everything and we'll have a look around. And you can see that we essentially do have an edge loop going around the entire model. This basically follows the geometry pretty well, all the way down, and now we get those sharp edges. Let's go to object mode, let's go to shade smooth. We will make sure auto smooth is turned on, set to maybe about 40, 50, 60, something like that, just until the smoothness disappears, or until the edges catch and disappear. We'll turn our viewport on to 2, so we're getting a few more subdivisions, and you can see we're getting a nice tight angle on all our edges. We do still have to add in that little seam. We can do that now. What I will do first though is I'm going to select this whole edge all the way around, and I'm going to scale this to Z of 0. So let's actually try that again. It didn't quite work. I'm going to scale this to Z 0. We had number lock turned on, and that was the issue there, and that's now fixed. Now that's caused a little bit of an issue here. These verts are a little bit too close. We want to space this out pretty exact if we can. I might also actually just grab these ones and move these out a little bit just to try and even this line up. I want the same thickness essentially here that I have here. Now this has to be at this angle because we're going to split it. So again, as before, just grab that and split it. Now before we do that, if we bevel it, we don't have to worry about creating those extra edge loops. They will be created for us in advance. So we'll split that there, select everything on the top, hit H to hide that, We'll turn off transparent mode just so this is actually a little bit easier. We want to fill this in, so I'm going to select all the edges, but I'm actually going to try grid fill this time. You can see if we use grid fill, it actually fills in all those connections for us, saves us a fair bit of trouble. Now what we do want to do is we want to grab this edge here, and I'm just going to hit G a couple of times. I'm just going to slide this over to make this edge a little bit sharper. We'll grab this vert and this vert and just move these a little bit as well. And that just helps us get a nice edge there. Alt H to unhide everything. Invert selection, hide that. Go back to this bottom face again, grab all the edges, grid fill, and that way again we keep our nice edges. And let's Alt H to unhide everything. Go to object mode, and there we have our frame. We have our nice little seam in between it, and yeah, pretty happy with that. That's not too bad at all. I think that'll actually look pretty decent when it's rendered. Now the top part, the reason this has got a seam is what we're going to do is we're going to have a texture running this direction, 1, 1, with the grain running that direction, and then on this second part we'll have the grain running this direction. Doesn't really matter that we created a seam. We could give the impression of a seam just with an inset, with a little tiny extrude, but I just prefer it this way. It just looks a little bit better. Okay, let's unisolate everything. Let's Alt D to duplicate this. We're going to move it. Okay, so with the frames created, it's time to work on the cushions. And since we're not really going to see the cushions that clearly, I think I'm just kind of going to cheat a fair bit on these cushions, to be honest. I'm just going to basically do a really low poly box model and subdivision surface it to make it smooth and kind of bumpy. I don't think I'll do anything too crazy on it. I'm not going to go crazy and sculpt it or anything like that. I just want to keep it pretty basic and basically just get this part finished. We are going to have a cushion that actually goes over the chair itself, so that's one thing again that I don't really have to worry too much about. Let's create an edge loop across the middle here and get this into place. So this is a kind of strange kind of model, to be honest. I'm not that familiar with doing this kind of model, this kind of cushion. Just want to get everything kind of more or less in place. I want this to be outside the model. I want it to be sticking up a little bit. When everything gets smoothed down, it's kind of going to get smaller anyway, so that's another thing we don't have to worry too much about. Now, this doesn't actually start until a little bit further up. There is quite a gap there between this seam and this part. This edge along the middle as well, I think I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'm just using G to slide that up. And let's just bevel this a bunch of times. I'm not quite getting the smoothness of that we want. We're also going to add a loop across the middle. Bring that back a little bit and bevel this a bunch of times. You have to go a little bit further than you think you might, just because when you bevel it, you do tend to lose a lot of the definition. Let's subdivision surface this. Let's also go to object mode and shade smooth it. Okay, and it's starting to look not terrible. You know, that's not exactly the greatest thing to say about one of your models, that it's not terrible. But we are getting there. Let's add in an edge loop here to tighten this up. Add in an edge loop here, tighten that up. I'm going to add in an edge loop, I think, at the back. Actually, no, we're not going to add an edge loop at the back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel these. Because we're doing subdivision surface, I'm only going to bevel with one segment, and that lets me get that roundness. We do have some edges. I'm going to isolate, go to edit mode. I'm going to add in 2 segments. I'm going to select some of these points here and just join them. And that keeps the quad flow going. It's not actually exactly the kind of flow we might want, but do you know what? To be honest, we're not going to see these edges that clearly, so we should be okay. One thing we might want to do is add an edge loop in here, just bring it to the top. You don't want to go even with it. Do you know what? I think we can actually get away with not having that edge loop in there. Yeah, we'll not have that edge loop in there. If we do need to tighten it, we could just do that. Tighten it. In fact, that's actually what we'll do. We'll just do that because that doesn't require any more edges, and it does tighten that up the way I want it to be tightened. So there we go, that's fine. The middle part, this is the interesting, well, one of the many interesting parts in it. What we could do is we could do a little bit of proportional editing. What we would really want is connected only. And the way that works is if we go to the back of this, you can see that we can pull out the front without grabbing the back, despite the fact that it's closer to some of the parts that are getting grabbed. We would need to increase this selection a little bit because we want to get a kind of bulbous front to that. We want to give the impression there's actually a pad in there without really messing up the shape too much. So you see that just gives a kind of subtle adjustment to the shape. Again, I could go in, I could sculpt this. Let's see, sculpt mode. Not entirely sure which brush would work too much for this. I mean, blob brush goes in, just adds something to it just to deform it just enough to give the impression that maybe it's a used piece of material. It's got some kind of feeling to it. Maybe actually middle would maybe have an indent to it. Maybe the sides would be a little bit more bulbous. Maybe the back as well, along the top. I'm actually using my mouse here and definitely don't recommend using a mouse. So, I mean, I've done a lot there. We would maybe then take that down and smooth it. I believe there is a smooth brush in here somewhere. You can tell that I don't really use this very much, considering the fact that, you know, I don't even know where the smooth tool is, which is like, oh, in fact, you know what? I bet smooth is just holding shift, isn't it? Smooth just holding shift. There we go. I'm not going to spend much time on that. I just want to give the kind of feel that it's not a solid object. One thing I don't like is we've got a kind of seam on the top there, so I'm just going to go to edit mode. Just looking at this, we've kind of messed that up a lot more than I thought I had. But it seems to be working. What I think I will do is just quickly create the bottom part. There's a little bit of work to do to this to get it looking better. For a start, we're going to have to do some seams. We're going to have to add some textures to it and things like that. But I think for a very quick model, again, this is another quick video that's only about 20 minutes. That's pretty much done. I'm